Hello there, it's Brendan Wrongway Corrigan here with another installment of everybody's favourite podcast. Honestly, it is Wrongway's Colombia Cast. Now, of all the reasons people come to Colombia, especially those from more developed countries, having a baby, I think it's safe to assume, is not chief amongst them. Nonetheless, it does of course happen, perhaps more so with foreign men having children with local women here. That's my guesstimation based on anecdotal evidence anyway. However, today's guest bucks that trend in a number of ways. US born and bred, in 2016 she followed her then boyfriend to his ancestral home to give living in Colombia a go. Fast forward to 2020 and now with an Irish husband in tow, she gave birth to the adorable Millie earlier this year. Melissa Fábregas, welcome to Wrongway's Colombia Cast.
Thanks so much for having me. And I do appreciate how you acknowledge how adorable Millie is.
Oh, it definitely takes after her father, Melissa.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, he'll be happy to hear that.
End of interview. But before we get into it, I must say, because I know you've just been feeding Millie, but she could wake up again at any moment in time. So she's, in effect, the producer today. If she starts crying and wants a feed, well, we've got to take a break, so we're well aware of that. But Anyway, the fact, mentioning Eamon, your Irish beau, and he's a good friend of this podcast. We had him on the Brother podcast that we did with Samana last year, the Colombia cast. But you're both foreigners, and you have no family ties. So going through pregnancy in Bogotá must have been quite the experience, more so than, I guess, other first-time mothers. Did it worry you then at the start when you found out you were pregnant, like oh my God, I'm going to have a baby here in Colombia?
In the beginning, not at all, because I just, I take life one day at a time. And so I kind of just figured, okay, we're having a baby and we might have a baby in the States. We might have a baby in Colombia, maybe England, wherever life takes us. And then COVID happened. So that was a bit more of a struggle than I anticipated, for a lot of reasons. For example, my parents were going to come for the first month. And to tell you the truth, I didn't realize how important that would be to me until it was, taken away. So not having that support, it was an issue. It did give me a bit of anxiety, and I'm sure a lot of other expat moms or expat parents here, that's a factor in how they raise their kids and how they have their kids here. So, being able to travel back and forth or having people be able to come visit, it's a big deal. We're blessed in a lot of ways, but that's something I didn't see coming.
Yeah, of course. And nobody did, I guess, if we knew that. Do you think that if you knew it was coming, you would have made the decision then to go back to the States to have Millie?
Funny enough, we were in the States right before COVID hit. And so I made the quick decision to come back because we had just found a doctor that we really, really loved here in Colombia, in Bogotá. And then, another thing is that, Eamon's job is here. So I just felt like it was more important to be with my husband and for us to be a family rather than me to give birth in the States. It wouldn't have been the end of the world, having a baby in California. But, starting off as a family was something that was really important to me. So we kind of did have that option, and I chose Colombia.
So you were obviously then pretty happy with all the treatment and the service that you were getting here from the minute you found out you were pregnant. Like, was there much support? I mean, I know your Spanish is pretty okay, but at the same time, it reminds me of the Godfather movie when Hyman Roth says he didn't trust a doctor that couldn't speak English. I don't know if you're like that, but like, how did you find it in those early days? Just because obviously it's a completely new experience for you.
Actually, I did like the doctors that we found. However, the first one we found didn't take our insurance, and we really, really loved him. But he didn't deliver. He didn't take our insurance. So we moved on to one other one that he recommended. That one did not speak English, and we weren't his biggest fan. He was very professional, very sharp and everything. But for our birth experience, we wanted someone who was more like to throw in a little bit of Spanglish, cariñoso. And so, his bedside manner was different. He just wasn't very sweet. The third doctor we found happens to speak English, and she was just, not like it's a contest, but she won us over, and I really, really loved her. Still do. However, the weekend of our due date, she happened to be out of town. So, we hit a few bumps in the road, but at the end of the day, mama and baby are safe and healthy, and that's kind of all you wish for.
Yeah. It kind of seems so funny. You went through three doctors. I don't know if that's the norm. Obviously, number one, I've never given birth. I can't, unless we're in a movie like Junior with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Was that the name of it? And I don't have a wife or a partner that's had a child. But going through three doctors, it seems a fair number. It's just that you wanted to feel happy with who was going to walk you through this process, I guess.
Of course, yeah.
And then in terms of the supports from other mothers here, obviously on Facebook now you can find a group for pretty much anything. So I take it there was and there are online supports.
Yeah, there are a couple of resources, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for. It's different when, I have 4 sisters, all of whom have children already, so I'm the last.
Okay.
So they're a huge support system for me, and I'm actually really big on researching things on YouTube and whatever, because like some of my sisters, they've had kids, years ago, and so I think that when you've had kids years ago, maybe you forget what it was like, or even asking my mom questions. She's like, oh, a lot's changed in this many years, since I had you guys. So she'll say her piece. She's happy to give advice, but it might not be current. It might not be relevant to, what we might experience right now. So another thing is that, I was talking about YouTube and everything, and I'm following all these people who talk about, for example, what to pack in your bag to take to the hospital, or what you should know, what you should expect at the hospital, what you should talk to your doctor about. And a lot of those things were, in English. People in the States, people in England, people in Canada. So I really wanted more information about what to expect here in Colombia, and I didn't have a lot of advice in that regard. People are very friendly and welcoming when you want advice, but it's not always that easy to ask. You kind of get over that, but with COVID and everything and being kind of new to this, it was hard to find those resources. There's only one parents group on Facebook for Bogotá. There's actually a play group that I was added to after I gave birth, so it really would have been helpful to talk to these wonderful mamas before I gave birth.
Yeah.
But
I was just going to say that I mentioned in the introduction that my guess would be that 2 foreigners having a baby here wouldn't be the norm. So the other mothers that you're now engaging with, are there others similar to you that it's kind of two foreigners living here, or do most of them have family ties here, be it in-laws or whatever?
I would say that most of them have Colombian husbands.
Okay.
So, they can ask their in-laws or something about what to expect. So
then if you were to give advice then to a first-time mother here, or even somebody who's not a first-time mother but is having a baby in Colombia, and things that you wish you had known, what would they be?
I would say definitely find a few people that you trust and ask all questions you possibly can. The most information I got actually was from a complete stranger. Somebody, so we talked about COVID, so we couldn't go out and shop for baby things because our plan was, when we get back to the States, we'll, get the crib and get the bouncer and all the baby stuff. That wasn't exactly possible. So what we did was we did go on Facebook group, and we got a lot of pre-loved items, and it ended up being really great. And through that, I was able to meet other moms and ask questions about their experiences giving birth here. And I just thought to myself, this is something I want other moms to have access to, because it's information that's not online. It's really, even the doctor's appointments, they were, at this point, they weren't virtual or anything, but Eamon couldn't even come to some of the appointments because they were only letting the patients in, and a lot of the doctors were only seeing their pregnant patients, and they're not doing annuals right now. So
okay, in general, if you were to, I mean, I know you've got nothing to compare it with, but like, you were pretty satisfied with the process, obviously in light of the exceptional circumstances that we're going through with COVID and lockdowns and restricted access and all that kind of stuff. But in general, like, you felt that you were well supported. Is that fair to say?
I do, in ways. What I wish I had known before was how kind of, and of course I'm not a medical expert, but it seems like they have some kind of aversion to natural deliveries, and they were very pro formula. So those were hiccups that I had in the hospital. I ended up having to have a C-section, and there were parts of it, because we did hire a doula, and so she wasn't allowed in the delivery room, obviously. Pre-COVID, she would have been.
Sorry, you hired a what, Melissa? Sorry, excuse my ignorance, but you hired
a doula.
Which is? Go on, sorry, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so it's not quite a midwife or anything, but they are, I would say that they're experts in childbirth, and
okay.
So she would have served as like a coach for me. She did a lot of, she prepared us for what to expect in the hospital in the event of a C-section, or what a natural delivery would be like in Colombia, what the differences might be. So yeah, that's a huge piece of advice. Hire a doula, just do it. She was worth every penny. Sweetest woman ever. There were a few that we interviewed. We went with one, but I mean, all of them were very professional, very highly recommended. So that's something I definitely would advise mothers in Colombia to do.
Okay, yeah, that's a good.
And also, it makes the experience a lot more personal, because she kind of gets to know what we want and, how we want this experience to go.
Of course. You mentioned the C-section, which you had to have in the end, and I get the feeling that you obviously would have preferred a natural birth, but was it?
Yes.
Was there no other option in the end, or was it just that the hospital decided, no, we're going to go the C-section route?
Well, there were, honestly, I'm not a medical expert again, but there are a few things I've heard from other expat moms as well, that they try to schedule C-sections and everything. My original doctor did not. She knew how much I wanted a vaginal birth, and she was totally on board with it. However, she was out of town, so I did have another doctor who I trusted, and he was very professional, amazing. I felt like I was well taken care of, but I'm not entirely sure if it was 100% necessary. In the end, we're healthy and happy, so I'm happy, but I think that I would have stood up for myself a lot more, especially, one, had my doula been allowed in the room with us. Two, were there not a language barrier? Like we talked about, my Spanish is pretty good, but when it comes to, a medical situation, that's very specialized language. And also, my husband's Spanish, he was aware of, my wants and needs and everything. However, I'm not entirely sure if he knew everything that was going on when it was going on, and so. And
even Melissa, not to rush to the defense of Eamon, but I, even if there wasn't a language barrier, I'm guessing a first-time father in that situation as well, his head is probably all over the place, because they.
100%. And Yeah. In his defense, first time
Yeah.
dad and plus language barrier. It's just, it's very overwhelming. And, again, we had planned to take classes and everything, but that wasn't an option. So I think things just kind of happened so quickly that it didn't exactly go the way I planned, which nothing ever does. So this isn't complaining, and this is not, I'm not using some kind of platform to talk about all my gripes with the Colombian medical system, because overall I'm very happy with our experience.
And you were in, it was Santa Fe, am I correct in saying that? That
Yes.
was the hospital?
Yes,
which would be recognized as like one of, if not the best.
In the country, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. So at the hospital where former President Juan Manuel Santos got his cancer treatment, I believe. So I mean, in terms of, I guess, having an operation like a C-section and things like that, you couldn't have been in a better place, really.
Exactly. But my understanding is that they don't do a lot of vaginal births. They're geared towards C-sections, and what I suppose, as, again, a non-medical expert, what I suppose is that they just don't have a lot of experience with it. So maybe it makes them a little bit uneasy. Everyone's feel free to chime in the comments or wherever this is posted, wherever people are listening, why you think this is, or if I have it completely wrong. But they do tend to push people in that direction a little bit more often than not. Maybe not a little.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be interesting actually. I'm going to do some searching after this then to find out what the percentage is, the ratio of natural births to C-sections here in Colombia. Maybe, they, as you said, they do push them in that direction. But just in terms of then, obviously once you gave birth to Millie, and you mentioned how the plan was that your mum and your mum anyway at least was going to come down here and help with those first few weeks or months, and that obviously couldn't happen with the COVID-19 restrictions. But you do have a nanny. So has the nanny replaced your mum in a sense? Were you planning to have a nanny at this early stage?
Yeah, we were. So she hasn't replaced her. But it does really, really, really help my sanity to have the house clean, because again, I had just mentally prepared for a normal delivery, and then, here I am recovering for weeks from a C-section, and, you need help just to stand up, or you need help just to do X, Y, and Z. And so just to have a clean house, Eamon's been great. He, even before Millie or before we got pregnant, super awesome with like the cooking and chipping in with chores and everything. So, but even more so now that I'm kind of out of commission. Well, was out of commission. I'm much better now.
Yeah, you're slowly.
But yeah, our empleada has been a godsend, and she's very sweet, and she loves Millie, and that just makes me so happy. Because, some people I assume maybe do it just because it's a job, but she genuinely loves babies and is great with her. So to have somebody here with me along the way who is a mother, that means a lot to me.
Yeah, and obviously you can kind of bounce off her for if you've any doubts and things, that she has that experience, which of course you would have been getting from your mum, but unfortunately she can't be here. And of course the other thing is, you mentioned that your Spanish is okay, but I know you're kind of keen that Millie hears both languages. I was going to say maybe the three languages, because Irish English is something different as well. So I know that the nanny as well, or the empleada, speaks a little bit to Millie in Spanish. So that's obviously going to be good. I mean,
oh yeah,
this day and age, if you're a polyglot growing up, you're going to have a big advantage.
Yeah, I speak English to her when she's to Millie when it's just us, when our nanny's in the house.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry, you mentioned that. That's the Filipino, because you're of Filipino extraction as well. So yeah, we didn't mention
Filipino extraction. That. I love that term. But yeah, I tell our nanny, talk to her all the time. Talk to her. She sings to her. A lot of Colombian little songs that I need to learn. I think they're really cute. So it'll be great, having a multicultural baby. I already feel multicultural, growing up in the States. I'm very American, but I'm also very Filipino as well. So she'll have a lot to learn.
Exactly, and I know you're in the process of like actually officially sorting out the paperwork because Millie will be the quintessential international baby. She's going to have a Colombian passport, a US passport, and an Irish passport. So I mean, you can't get more really international. It's going to be a kind of great start in life.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are really excited about that. She's a very, very lucky little girl.
Yeah, and she's got great parents as well there. I mean, I'm testament to the cooking of Eamon. He stepped into that role as well, and his baking. He bakes some wonderful brown bread. You might see more of me passing around to your house over the next few weeks. I just want to mention those. Yeah,
he has me on an all-carb diet.
Well, I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but anyway, you'll give it a lash for the next while. You need plenty of nutrients when you're breastfeeding. Obviously, you haven't been out and about because you mentioned that there was maybe a push towards formula, but this day and age, or in this coronavirus time, you can't really go out anyway. So there hasn't been. You haven't obviously come across any people kind of going, "Oh, you're not allowed to breastfeed in here." That might be something down the line. I don't know what it's like here in Colombia, so that could be something you'll experience in a few months.
Well, I don't want it to be misconstrued as they're anti-breastfeeding, but in the States nowadays, and very much in the UK, they seem to be very pro-breastfeeding. The truth is, the expression "fed is best." That is the truth. But, it was important to me to nurse Millie if I could. And it seemed like they really insisted that I supplement with formula. So, like, they were helping me and everything, and with the nursing. However, they would just come in with a bottle of formula and start feeding her without even saying anything. And it just seemed like that was a little bit out of line. I don't know if I'm being picky, but there was a point where I was like, you need to stop giving my baby formula because she's not going to nurse if you keep giving her formula. If she's satisfied with the bottle, she's not going to. And that's what I believe. And they kept explaining to me why they needed to give formula because, and I totally disagree with this, but they said she's such a big baby. She's a really big baby, so she needs more food. I just don't think that's true at all. Again, if there are any nurses or anything listening in, let me know if I'm wrong. I might be, but from my understanding, they need very little milk in the beginning. And so what I was offering was fine. However, their idea of a big baby to me is kind of outlandish. Millie was 7 pounds, so 3.3 kilos. In the States,
average.
I don't know if that's a small baby, but average is 7.5 pounds. And so, like, again, when I was pregnant, our doctor kept saying, this is a really big baby. You need to watch your sugar, this baby is so big. You need to be really careful. She's such a big baby. I mean, every single time I went in, it was about how big she was. And she was only 7 pounds. And then, like, after she was born, I was like, oh, well, that's not that big. And then, the nurses and everyone kept saying, oh, she's such a big baby. And I'm like, are you guys, like, are your pants too tight? Like, what is happening here? Am I taking crazy pills? I was concerned for a really big baby because Eamon's 9.5 pounds. Cheers to his mom. But, so their version of big baby is very, very different than mine. And then also what a big baby needs versus a little baby. I am not under the impression that her stomach is so much bigger than a Colombian average sized baby.
Interesting. But as things are going now, are you 100% breastfeeding, or do you supplement in the house as well, or what's the story?
Exclusively breastfeeding. So the doula that I talked about that I absolutely love and would recommend to anybody. She came to do a consultation and she helped me out. And again, like the support system, like I pumped one time and I got like dropped, and I called my mom and my sister and I was like, oh, this is all I got. And they said, oh, that's good. That's really good. And I needed to hear that because I wasn't expecting to like pump a whole bottle of milk or anything, but your expectations versus what actually happens might be very different. And so you need that support system to, keep you going.
Yeah, of course. And when it is first time, there's so many things that are just completely novel. So I can only imagine, as they say. I just want to move on to, in terms of nappies, as we say in our side of the world, and diapers, because I know you're kind of environmentally conscious in this regard, and you're going.
We say nappies in this house.
Oh, you do say nappies.
We
okay,
do.
That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, Eamon calls them nappies, and I just roll with it.
Okay. I don't have a preference, but obviously, from my side of the world, nappies is the order of the day. But you've gone for reusable ones. That was a decision, obviously, you took before Millie came along. You were going to go for that. And how are you finding that? Is it obviously you've nothing to compare it with because you didn't go for the nappies?
Well, I've changed a fair amount of disposable diapers in my lifetime, having several nieces and nephews, having babysat, and I have friends with kids. I made the decision to do cloth nappies. A lot of the cloth nappy groups on Facebook that I follow, everyone talks about how they don't have support, how their husbands think it's gross, or their in-laws say X, Y, and Z about it, or everyone talks about how gross it is. I have found nothing but good responses. I have one sister who said, oh, that's gross. And I said, yeah, it's poop. It's gross. So, I mean, like, if you're dealing with disposables or reusables, it doesn't matter. You're a parent and you're dealing with these things, and, it's environmentally friendly. Apparently, I think it takes anywhere between 300 and 500 years in a landfill for a disposable nappy to break down. So I'm a bit of a hippie. I don't know if you knew this, Brendan, but and I say that with love for hippies.
Of course.
But I think it's a really good decision to make. I don't judge anyone who doesn't make that decision. It's honestly, for the person changing the diaper, it's exactly the same. You're taking off the old one, you're putting on a new one, a clean one. Other than that, there's extra laundry. So it's really not that big a deal. It's not hard. It's not that time consuming. It doesn't have to be. It's like another load or two of laundry every week. So with the baby, you're already doing a ton of laundry. I mean, so.
Of course. And just in terms then of maybe the kind of logistics behind it, how many cloth nappies do you have to keep the cycle going?
Well, they come in different sizes, or they can come in one size where they're adjustable. So I have a newborn stash of probably like 50 something, probably more, which is way more than you need. Some parents, they'll have like 20 or something like that. They'll have like 20 to 40, and they can claw full time doing laundry every day. I don't want to do laundry every day. I want to wait for a full load, so I chose to buy more. But a lot of parents just do it, in the house, and then when they go out, they use disposables. Any little bit helps, and I'm a huge advocate for cloth nappies. But again, there are certain things you're willing to do, and there are certain things that seem a little bit overwhelming and like a little bit too much. I'm really glad we tried it. Eamon was on board from the second I suggested it, and he was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, if you say it's environmentally friendly and saves us money, then, I don't see why we wouldn't do it. So I have a lot of support. Our empleada is super on board with it.
And you mentioned the cost effectiveness of it as well. So over the long run, and even in the short run, you are saving money.
Yeah, I mean, you can. You can spend quite a bit, but then if you really want to, you can spend less than $100 for your child's entire diaper career, let's say.
Wow.
And I mean, you can spend 1,000, but you can also spend 100. Whereas they say that for disposable diapers per kid, you're probably spending anywhere between $1,500 to, $3,000, depending on the brand and how many they use, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's the, disposable wipes and everything. I could talk about this all day. You need to stop me.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. Well, no, it's I find it quite interesting. I'm green-minded myself, so if I ever do have my own son or daughter in the coming years, I think it's something I'm going to definitely look into. But look, Melissa, I think I might have heard Millie in the background there letting out a shout or two saying, "Mammy, I'm hungry." Am I right?
She's a little bit hungry right now, so we're gonna have to cut it short.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to let you go. Maybe just finally to say, obviously you're delighted with Millie. So are there plans afoot for number 2? Eamon will probably kill me for asking that question.
For number 2, I'm up for it. He's up for it. So it's gonna happen.
Well, we look forward to that, and that you'll be a pro then. You can come back and give us more advice. Well, as you mentioned, people in the comment section and that, and where we share the podcast, can ask questions. So maybe we'll have you back, Melissa, if we get plenty of questions or nurses or doctors disputing things or whatever. But it's been fascinating, and I hope the advice that you've given here and your experiences will be helpful for other people who are going to find themselves in similar positions. But thanks a million for taking the time to talk to us here on Wrong Ways Colombia Cast. Melissa Fábregas, first time mother with the beautiful little Millie, whose daddy Eamon is a good friend as well of the podcast here. If you do want to get in touch with us, remember my Twitter handle is at WWayCorrigan, or you can find my page on Facebook, that's at Wrong Way Corrigan blog. But until the next time,
Ciao.
Ciao.